Thanks everyone for coming. My name is Phil Zabriskie. I know most of you. I'm the editorial director for Doctors Without Borders USA, and as the actresses are getting changed and decompressing a bit, I imagine themselves, we'll just get started. And it's kind of, this is a really cool event that I want to thank all the people involved with the play for helping to set up. And also I want to thank Esther Moring here for being here from Washington, D.C. She's a nurse, has been a nurse for 38 years, and has also gone on, and this to me is an unheard of number, 38 missions with MSF. Not only that, she's also been an Army medic, an ICU flight nurse, and has worked in hospice and home care. A number of these missions were in conflict zones, including Rwanda during the genocide, Burundi, Sri Lanka, East Timor, and Liberia in 2003, right? So right around the time that this depicts. And she was most recently in Liberia just a few months ago, working on the sort of aftermath of the Ebola outbreak. Also, Dr. Veronica Ades, OBGYN, living here in New York, who has worked with MSF in South Sudan and Jordan. She's also an assistant professor, tell me if I get anything else wrong, but assistant professor and the director of the Global Women's Health at the NYU School of Medicine, and the director of Empower, which is a clinic on the Lower East Side for survivors of sexual trafficking and sexual violence here in New York. So just to start, tell us what you thought. Like, what do you think watching that, and how does it resonate with your own experiences?
Well, first I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and I'm happy that I was invited to come too to see this, because as you all know, war is hell. And this was a good depiction of the choices that you have to make, you're forced to make with war. My first impressions are, what took me back all the way to being a nursing student and working in a battered women's shelter, and the choices that women make and don't make when they leave or don't leave their battered situation. And some of those same themes were coming up in this in the play. Even though it's an uncomfortable position, it's familiar. It becomes familiar, and you don't want to leave. And that came up in this play too. Oh gosh, picking up a weapon gives you power. You know, the impressions of the pecking order that evolves. Hearing about peace movements and what do they mean, and the power that the women in white did have and did put it into the war. I was there when they walked across the bridge and the war was finally finished, and then I could go home when I was in Liberia. War takes away everything. It takes away the women who had these meetings with Charles Taylor refused to sit. Why? Because we don't have furniture at home. The war took our furniture at home. We're not going to sit on your furniture. So the women were exclaiming their power that way. So many themes of power, powerlessness, and then what to do, you know, what do you do next? The things you do and you say to survive. That's a theme in every single war I've ever been in. The choices that you have to make on the spot, many times. That means life or death, where you're going to go, where you choose to go, where the camp is not, where the water is. They were talking about not having cassava, getting rice, what a treat that was. When we were in Monrovia, even the team, we had very little water. We had only water enough to drink, not to wash with. We washed with a partner, a nurse partner of mine, Jennifer, who many of you know from the office in New York, happened to have a makeup pad remover in her in her purse, and that's what we took a bath with. So, and that was one day. So we had a whole week of not having things as well, and we were working for the war, trying to help people there. There were stray bullets. People are shot for no good reason, just because when the shots were going off, the blanks were going off, I was thinking, oh gosh, I remember that, we called them whizzers. And one day I was sitting on the latrine, and a whizzer went by, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get shot by a war bullet in the latrine, and that'll be my story, It's a crazy, crazy thing. It's a crazy thing. And it's not only that. I mean, the reason that people were getting shot in our work was we had plastic sheeting tents and built structures set up as a hospital. And in a war, there's also disease. And so we had cholera. And we had a cholera camp made of plastic sheeting. Well, the stray bullets started coming in and hitting people in the cholera ward just because the walls were plastic. So we moved the cholera unit. I was only there for 4 weeks, and we moved the cholera unit 3 times in order to find solid walls that bullets couldn't go through. So war is a crazy, hellish thing.
Well, I really want to thank and congratulate all the people who put together this play. I mean, I thought it was so powerful and so phenomenal. I had to check my eye makeup after that because I was really sobbing at the end. I think, it resonated for so many reasons, and there are so many layers that I can't pick apart right now. But I think a couple of the things that I want to point out are that, there are countless war movies made, and they're always fascinating. And war is a time that is endlessly fascinating because there's so much struggle and so much intensity. But women's stories in war are almost never told, and yet women, I think, are often the most affected in war, in every war in history, and we never hear women's stories. And I think that's why this was so powerful. And I'm always thinking that. I think when I go abroad, I lived in Uganda before I did MSF, and when I was in South Sudan, as well as Jordan, working with Syrian refugees, thinking about the countless stories that these women were suffering, and no one was telling these stories, and they were so, so powerful. And women are picking up guns, but also the everyday lives that they live are extraordinary and deserve to be told. And this was told in such a wonderful way. And then I think that the play did an incredible job of depicting trauma in so many different ways. And trauma is something that I see every day. Sexual violence, physical violence works its way into the fabric of a person's life in a way that's really insidious. And I think many of these characters depicted their ways of dealing with that trauma. Not all of the trauma is necessarily manifest in PTSD as we think of it, but some of them dealt with it by grabbing onto power. Others dealt with it by what we traditionally think of as PTSD. But I think this play was so powerful by depicting those various ways. I think even the mothering character dealt with her own trauma by becoming a mother. And so I think I was really moved by seeing that depiction, and I'm going to take that home, and the last thing is I'm going to go out and drag every single person that I know into this theater and make them see this play. So thank you all so much for that experience.
This is wonderful to have you all here. We have Pascal Armand, who was Bessie, Zainab Ja, yeah, Maima. Disgruntled, yes. I feel like in the spirit of thing, it should be the name the mother gave you. And Akasua Basia, who is Rita. One more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Saquon. I play wife number 1.
So Esther and Veronica were just talking about their responses based on their work. I'd love to ask you, and you all tell everyone who's here, how do you prepare for something like this and sort of get, not only for the first time and learn the material and the characters, but then to be able to do it night in, night out, again and again at such a high level? Who would like to start?
I just got here. Well, we did a lot of research and rehearsal, watching lots of documentaries. We built our relationships like during the rehearsal process. We had a good time together because we did it at the public and then it transferred to Broadway. So we had a good amount of time to work on building the relationships within our pecking order, like was being explained earlier. But coming out of this, Zainab Jah has been saying this wonderful phrase, which I've started to adopt. I'm gonna give you credit. You're welcome. The fact that there are actual women who lived this during the Liberian War and who continue to live this all around the world, being that our world is just so war-riddled these days. So for us to embody these characters, these women, for 2.5 hours is nothing compared to the women who actually lived this and continue to live it. So for me, I don't decompress. It's an honor and a privilege to tell these women's stories here in such a broad, expansive audience here in New York where people are coming to see the show. So I'm happy to be doing this job and to be telling this story. That's the way I look at it.
Another question, or he wants to...
Oh, another question?
If you want to answer the same question.
What was the question again? How you prepared? How we prepare? I mean, piggybacking what she said, we do. There's a lot of research material that we get, documentaries, documents, also research that we do ourselves, our own individual research. Like for me, my thing is it's almost somewhat masochistic. I go home at the end of the night and I watch YouTube documentaries on Liberia, and there's always something new, something you missed, just to find another layer of complexity to the situation and to the people, And there's one I watch almost weekly called Child Soldiers. It's a documentary on these people trying to rehabilitate these children, and it's just really it's heartbreaking because they were taken at such young ages that their minds and their psyches have been formed to be killers. And so when you take them out of that, they don't know what to do with themselves. They're completely at a loss. And so, I try and find out. I'm always looking for another thing to add to Mima's complexity, to find out why she does what she does. She's not just this callous, vicious person. There's, trying to find vulnerability and give a reason, give the audience a reason to see how she got to where she is and how they all get to where they are, So that was my preparation. And then a glass of wine at the end of the night.
For me, I was actually living in Ghana when I got involved in this. Some of the ladies have been laboring long and many years. But I came from Ghana really straight into this almost. And I think I have the privilege also, my sister knew and I met through her, Lema Bowie, the peace woman who won the Pulitzer Prize with. And the character I play is by no means her because they are far more noble than Rita is. Rita's at the beginning of that journey, so she's trying to find her child and learning. It's someone who's really at the beginning of the journey. But also living in Ghana, every year we would bring people to Bujumbura, the Liberian refugee camp, and students would get credit for going there. In between the break, I went back there when we finished at the public, and then we went. And so my experience of the Liberian War is a Ghanaian experience. I think some of you noticed in the play, the peace talks were held in Ghana. And I'm part of, we have a foundation, Busia Foundation, that we go in. And I'm actually privileged tonight because we have Honorable Osei Yao here, and I'm Director General of his Care Share Foundation. And we've done a lot of work there with, yes. And so mine is through Ghana, really, that I stepped in, but nowhere near as deep as watching the documentary. As a lot as this play is to take, you could not put on the stage what I'm sure you know, what we watched and what people lived, coming down in that order. It wouldn't be palatable for the audience. Nobody could really take it. And slowly, all of us, one by one, would come to some of the stories you hear, and we would say, oh, that's where that comes from. And the peace woman along the journey that I am is nowhere near as noble. I mean, even last time we all had a meal with Lehman, she was telling us of a peace woman who was actually tending to a soldier who was looking at her, and he confessed to her, I killed your child, your daughter. And she continued to nurse him. You know, one of the story that Lupita tells about the girl, and we saw on the footage where the woman talks about, I don't even want to go into it so much, but she talks about how the soldiers came in and they were raping her on her dead husband, which was something they did, and her 9-10-year-old child was trying to get, they turned around, raped her to death, and she sees 3 of them every single day and has to live and let them breathe air, otherwise the war would keep perpetuating itself. So we prepare by watching, and we prepare, like we say, by saying, you know, we do 8 shows a week, which is a lot, but then you go, I'm gonna complain about doing 2 shows a day and getting in an Uber or whatever and going home. It's unthinkable, so.
Sure, yes. You know, one of the most powerful things that has happened is, you know, with the casting of this show, that in itself was preparation before we even began with the script. Our director, LIESL TOMMY, is from South Africa. Our writer, Danai Gurira, is from Zimbabwe. Our family's from Zimbabwe. My dad was from Liberia. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, Akosua, representing Ghana. We have Sierra Leone, and we also have Haiti. So representing the African diaspora and all of the things that our various countries may have experienced, there's an energy that comes with us already when we arrive in the room. And so before any documentary, any study, anything, I think there was an empathy that we had or have for various things that may or may not have happened with our father countries in that way. I have sisters who were born in Liberia and they live here now. I have one sister that's still living there in the countryside. But it's really, I'm speechless often when it comes to talking about the preparation for this. It's very painful material to study and to research. And my heart, I weep for Liberia continuously. And I also celebrate the growth and the change that's happening there now. I'm so thankful that the war is still over and that reparations are happening, the country is being repaired, and I try to work with different organizations that can help with that. So we're so thankful that you guys are here, that you came to see our performance, and we hope that you'll spread the word and tell other people about it. We're going to be here through June 19th, and so it's never too packed in here. So please, I beg you all, each tell 5 people about this show and tell them to come and see it.
Does anyone have any questions in the audience? We can take a few for anyone. God, it's bright up here. I don't know. The question was, why is the show called Eclipsed?
Well,
from my understanding, according to our writer, these women, these young women, their lives have been eclipsed by this war. Like a bright sun shining, a moon eclipsed, right? But it only lasts for a short while, and it will continue to move, and their light will shine again. So it's just symbolizing, however horrific their lives or their experiences are, the hope and joy that they will have, their light will shine again.